throughout the years, LEGO has really made an effort to improve both the quality and the design of their LEGO minifigures. Around the 2010s, we settled around on the white pupilled eyes and relatively simplistic features that we know of today. However, this came at a cost. Around the mid to late 2000s, LEGO produced some questionable and borderline scary minifigures. So, get ready. This may be a bit rough.
Taking a trip back to 2005, when Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire first came out, we got 4 pretty badass sets to go with the movie, but today we're going to look at one in particular. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Set number 4762, Rescue from the Merpeople, depicted the second task that Harry had to endure in the movie, where he goes underwater to rescue his incapacitated friends. Now, LEGO designed Ron and Hermione with dual-sided heads, so you could either have them sleeping for Harry to rescue, or awake for them to do awake things. However, something went terribly wrong in the design process. The sleeping sides of their faces don't look too terrible, considering they're supposed to be asleep, but the awake sides of their faces make the characters almost unrecognizable. Ron has these weird bags under his eyes and looks like he hasn't slept in nearly a week, and Hermione just isn't even close. Even when I was younger and saw these sets for the first time, the minifigures immediately turned me off from wanting them, and add insult to injury, they used these exact same minifigures a few years later when they put out a new Hogwarts castle for the Order of the Phoenix movie.
So that was definitely a weird phase for LEGO Harry Potter. But luckily, in 2010, they rebooted the line and we got much better sets and minifigures. And they in fact are continuing to pump out more sets this year in 2018. So once LEGO kind of figured out their minifigures, they got really good at making them more detailed. In fact, maybe even a little too good.
The next abomination came out in 2014's Mos Eisley Cantina set. A solid set with pretty good minifigures, except for, that disturbingly detailed Luke Skywalker minifigure. Yeah, I don't really know what happened here. It seemed that around this time, LEGO was having a bit of an identity crisis on whether they wanted to strive to make licensed minifigures more accurate or to stick with the more cartoony, stylized approach. I actually own this set and just couldn't stand looking at Luke on my shelf every day, so I went ahead and swapped the head out with one of the newer, friendlier-looking Luke Skywalker minifigs. This scary level of detail didn't last too long with this particular minifigure, only appearing in 2 other sets. Probably a choice for the better.
Speaking of a scary level of detail, do you guys remember those awful NBA license sets from 2003? Well, if you do, I'm sorry. And if you don't, well, you're in for a treat.
Back around 2003, we got this gem of a set, the Ultimate NBA Arena, with an all-star team of 10 basketball players. Now, these minifigures were designed with springs in their legs so you'd be able to shoot and throw the basketball with them. Yeah, I don't really know what LEGO was going for with these figures, but it seems like they kind of wanted the figures to be more accurate, but at the same time, most of the figures' faces look nearly identical. On top of that, the only minifigure that didn't have a print for hair was Dirk from the Dallas Mavericks. Like, plenty of other players could have benefited from the hair pieces that were available in 2003, but they just decided to print hair and leave the awkward, bald studs sticking out of their head.
So yeah, if you ever sifting through an old box of LEGO or something and you run across one of those NBA figures, just walk away and forget it ever happened. It's for the best, trust me.
Back in 2014, we saw LEGO introduce the direct-to-consumer Simpsons House. Being a huge Simpsons fan, I was beyond excited to see this set, but when I saw the minifigures, I was immediately let down. All the minifigures in the main family have these weird half-closed eyes that make them look like they just finished smoking a pound and a half of weed. Luckily, the next year when they came out with the Simpsons collectible minifigure series, they fixed the figures and they all had their classic Simpsons bug eyes.
If LEGO was smart and slightly evil, they were taking the good Simpson minifigures, throwing them into the Simpsons House set, and taking the bad, high Simpson minifigures and put them into the CMF series for you to deal with. Luckily they didn't, but seeing those minifigures really kind of killed some of my excitement for any of the future Simpsons sets, despite me being a huge fan. Now, before we get to the worst of the worst, I do want to throw in a little bit of an honorable mention. Do you guys remember the Star Wars The Force Unleashed video game that they released back in about 2008? Well, I remember loving it, but it might have sucked. I was pretty young. But it was good enough for LEGO to produce one set off of it, and there's one particular minifigure in this set that stands out and is worth a mention in this video.
In 2008, LEGO released set 7672 Rogue Shadow, a ship from the game. This set came with 3 minifigures, 2 of which were actually pretty cool. However, we also got a minifigure of Juno Eclipse, one of the characters exclusively made for the game. I had honestly forgotten about this set even existing until I started doing some research for this video, but this minifigure is really bad. The torso isn't the bad part, but rather the questionably designed face. The style doesn't match any of the other female figures from the era, let alone any era. It almost looks as if some Chinese knockoff company was manufacturing custom based on this character, and all they did was slap a sticker on for the face. The minifigure is bad, but I feel like it almost gets made up for due to the awesome figures of battle-damaged Darth Vader and his apprentice that also came with the set.
Alright, now we're at the part of the video that you all have been waiting for. The worst of the worst. The most nightmare-inducing, terrifying hell spawns of minifigures that you could possibly imagine. That's right. LEGO Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Star Wars: The Clone Wars was an immensely successful animated TV show based off the prequel era of Star Wars. Like any smart company would do, LEGO saw the success of the show with the younger audience and started pumping out tons of sets based on the show. These sets absolutely dominated the Star Wars line from around 2008 to 2013. I never particularly was a fan of the show, so I never picked up any of the sets. Even when I was younger, I wouldn't touch these sets with a 10-foot pole just because of how creepy they made some of my favorite Star Wars characters look. The art style used in the Clone Wars just simply doesn't transfer well into LEGO, and it's a shame that it took them 5 years to figure this out. Some of the most notorious minifigures in my opinion are Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Chancellor Palpatine, and this guy. Their eyes were always so far apart and unnatural looking that I truly believe that these are some of the worst minifigures ever made. If I had to put an official Bricklite stamp on the worst minifigure of this line though, I would definitely choose Padme from set 9515 Malevolence. It's just not right, and I feel bad for anyone that paid $100 for this set to get this devil spawn thrown in there. The Clone Wars was just not a good time to be a LEGO Star Wars fan, especially when you're such a fan of the original trilogy. However, despite these 5 years of brutal torture, we did get some cool Clone Trooper minifigures that came from various sets throughout the years.
Well guys, it's been good. But it looks like that last batch of minifigures may have made my eyes start to bleed a little bit, but see you in the next one. I need a doctor. Caution. Do not use theatrical blood in the mouth or near the eyes. Oh boy.